Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the newly developed Invest 96L and the potential for it to become our next tropical storm. Before I get started, however, be sure to like and subscribe, as this does help my channel grow. So make sure that like button is blue and that subscribe button is gray. That means you have liked and subscribed. And let's get right into the video here. So, of course, we have our other two systems, Fred and Grace. But today, I already did a video about Fred, so be sure to check that one out. And Grace very recently as well. But today, we are going to be talking about the newly Invest 96L that has developed here. And as soon as they put it, as the National Hurricane Center put it on the map, it instantly had a 30% chance of development. So I thought that was somewhat of a sign. And the reason they put the chance a little high is to start out for is because the chance of development will go down by Tuesday. So as you can see here, by Tuesday, environmental conditions will be less conducive for development. So it's a well-defined low-pressure system 200 miles north-northeast of Bermuda, not Cuba, Bermuda, as we see disorganized showers and storms, mainly south of the center. We could see gradual development over the next couple of days. And from what I'm looking at, the environment actually looks pretty good to develop a tropical storm, or at the very least, maybe a subtropical storm. But I see no reason for it to be subtropical either. I think a tropical system is, I wouldn't say a good bet, but it's definitely a possibility. So it's going to be tracking more towards the south-southwest, then making more of a southwesterly turn. And we'll see. It could head towards the United States, all right, or it could just make a full kind of U-turn and just book it out to sea. So 30% chance of development within the next 5 days and within the next 2 days. So again, development chances, today's Sunday, so development chances we'll have today and Monday, and then by Tuesday, things do go down a little bit. So let's look at this. Current strength, 30-mile-an-hour winds, 1,014 millibars of pressure, and those 30-mile-an-hour winds go out about, there's a 20 nautical miles, so about 25 miles from center. We see that little core of slightly stronger winds. Let's look at this on the satellite imagery. Let me slow that down here. And you can see the rotation somewhere in here. Now, from 8 o'clock this morning, they had the low center at about, so that's about 64 degrees west and about 35 degrees north. So if we look at that here, 64.35 is about here. So pretty much you got your center here. It's kind of overlapped by convection, and you can see that convection there south of center. So it's definitely a rotating system, and it's moving south. And according to the National Hurricane Center, it's actually moving at about 5 miles an hour. You can see here, system moves slowly to the south or southwest at about 5 miles an hour. So Bermuda will probably get impacted by this, or is already getting impacted. Now, if we look at the visible imagery, I think you can see the system a bit better. At least you can see the mid-level clouds rotating around it. And we did see a recent rebound of thunderstorms right there. You can see it. I'll highlight it when it happens. So right about here, we saw a little influx of thunderstorms, a little rebound here. So center is right here, and it's getting overlapped by convection. So we want to see the convection around the center and not necessarily over top of it. But so thunderstorms passing by Bermuda right now. Not sure if anything is reaching the ground for the moment, but it will get closer. The low will get closer to Bermuda. One thing that's for this system, where we talk about for and against, one thing that's for it is the water temperatures, right? Water temperatures, if you look to the north here, around Bermuda, pretty much about 2 degrees-ish Celsius above average, which is pretty significant. I know it doesn't sound that significant. Sea surface temperatures, we're going to get a better look at the exact numbers, because I know it's hard to tell from this, but not that much cooler than, say, the Gulf of Mexico. I know the Gulf of Mexico is pretty much sitting at around 30, 31 Celsius, but my estimate from looking at this, again, we'll get the exact numbers very shortly, but my estimate is about 28-ish Celsius, so pretty warm water nonetheless. And it's actually been trending upward. We've seen a increase between 1 and 2 degrees Celsius in just the past 7 days. So we've seen a warming up of these waters here, and that's going to be good for the development of the system. Now, water temperatures are sitting at around 83 or so right now to the northeast of Bermuda, but very shortly it's going to get near Bermuda. We see some 84-degree waters, which is more than enough to develop a system. And even once it gets south of Bermuda, 85 degrees Fahrenheit here, so pretty warm water. And assuming it tracks around Bermuda, maybe 85, 84 as it heads back towards the north. And we'll see if it can make any contact with the Gulf Stream, because of course we know it's a very warm body of water. But of course down there, like near Cuba and southern Florida, there 87, even 88 degree water, so warmer down there. But nonetheless, 85-degree sea surface temperatures is pretty warm. Now we don't have as much. Now we're not near the Gulf or the Caribbean, so we don't have as much ocean heat content. What I mean by that is not only heat at the surface, but ocean heat below the surface. We don't have as much of that, but we still have a little bit, and we definitely have enough. We definitely have warm enough sea surface temperatures. So that's a check. That's something for the system. Let's look at some of the tracking guidance, right? So here's Bermuda right here, not Cuba, like I said earlier, Bermuda. So there's the load. It's going to track pretty much around Bermuda, according to these set of model tracks. They agree pretty well. A few of them have it just continuing on the southwest track, maybe not looping back towards the north. Of course, that all depends on the upper level steering here. If we look at the GEFS model tracks here, now they seem to have a pretty good agreement. Again, look at necessarily track, not intensity, because it's not as good long term. But you can see moving towards the south, then making a west, northwest, and eventually a northeast turn, and then heading back out to sea, which is what these set of models are thinking here. Now the GEPS model tracks, one little model track has it going towards the Bahamas. It's a possibility. But again, maybe when it makes that northern turn, we could see some strengthening. Again, but these are better more so for track. So Bermuda is pretty much right under there somewhere, and it's going to be tracking to the south and west. So we'll see. Does it make a north or northeast turn at all? Or if so, when? You know, like if it keeps moving west for a longer period of time, maybe it gets close enough to produce some waves to the eastern United States. There probably will be a front, or at least some kind of jet stream that comes through, so probably to help pick it up and move it out eventually. Some intensity guidance here. Quite a few models keep it flat as a depression, or maybe becoming a depression, or just remaining as an invest. But also quite a few do make it a tropical storm, and a couple, okay, one makes it a Cat 4. Okay, I don't think that's going to be for the case right now. But a couple do make it a Category 1 hurricane or so that's something to watch. But I would say more in the tropical storm range. They've only had one hurricane this year, surprisingly, and that was Elsa. So we'll see. Maybe this could become number 2. But not as high of a probability. I think Grace has a better chance than this. Looking at the wind shear right now, this is from 8 o'clock this morning. We'll see. Yeah, so 8 o'clock this morning. And this is where the low is located, just north and northeast of Bermuda. And wind shear has really dropped by 5 to 10 knots in the past 24 hours. Some dark blue, even closer to black. So really low wind shear, 10 knots or less. So as it moves south, it could maybe get a little bit of higher shear, like maybe 15 or 20 knots. But in general, once it goes south and makes a loop this way again, right, wind shear in this general area is very low, like 10 knots or less. So pretty low wind shear right now, but there's a little bit right just to its east. So we'll see if that can influence it a little bit. And it has been increasing in this region by about 5 to 10 knots east of where the storm is. It's been increasing by 5 to 10 knots of shear in the past 24 hours. And now dry air, there's a very, very little bit. But in terms of like widespread dry air, like what you see off the coast of Africa here, there's really none of that. Really no dry air. Grace and Fred are both also having a good time without the dry air. And if we're talking about from a Saharan air layer perspective, really no problem here for 96L. So not much dry air. So between that, the low wind shear for the moment, and pretty warm surface temperatures or sea surface temperatures, I don't see how this can develop into at least a tropical storm. Now, the HWRF model, now I did the HWRF parent, which is the same thing as the regular HWRF, as you can see here with the P on it, except I like this one because it's more zoomed out, and because if it's zoomed in, you can't really tell where the storm is. So you can see the East Coast when it's zoomed out. So they have it dropping to the south, coming a tropical storm, right? Okay. So we see, winds of around 34 knots or so. But then all of a sudden, then it gets very strong. So south of, let's say, like south of Bermuda, become like 90 knots. That's like a high-end Cat 2. Then 100 knots, 106 knots. So they just have it becoming an absolute monster. And part of the reason of that is because of the high pressure over here that probably could help to drag it a little closer to the United States. But that's a Category 3 at 106 knots. So that's very, very strong here. 106 knots. So, and then there's Grace right there. So they actually have Grace becoming a decently strong system. So we'll see what happens with Grace. But major hurricane at this point, I don't think so. But then there's also another high off to the east that could help. So one's dragging it this way, one's dragging it the other way. So that's why the track looks a bit uncertain between the models right now, because there's so many different steering currents that are kind of just yanking at it. The HMON, I agree with a lot more. So they have it becoming a tropical system here, as we head through the day Monday, right? Appropriate time frame, 1,001 millibars of pressure, 42 knots of wind, so that's about 45 to 50 mile an hour winds. Could develop maybe into a 60 mile an hour tropical storm, maybe even 65. And then it will weaken by later Tuesday into Wednesday into a more, maybe it'll become a subtropical system by then. Who knows? So HMON, I agree with a lot more. This definitely seems fairly accurate or fair for what we're calling for the time being. Looks pretty accurate considering the environmental conditions. So HMON, definitely a reasonable forecast here. Now, the global models, like the GFS, for example, really not much. Pretty much remaining the same strength as it is now, or maybe moving to the north. But this Invest 96L definitely has the potential to become Tropical Storm Henri, and that's Henri with an I on the end. I've never seen that before. So probably getting closest to Bermuda 96L, probably center getting closest by about Tuesday morning, according to the GFS. And then once we see that front move through, the upper level low that's moving through the east, that'll probably help yoink it out to sea. If we look at the Canadian model for 96L, you can see, again, center moving south by Tuesday. Now they have it Tuesday night into Wednesday. Center moves south and then kind of gets yanked up to the north again by a front that moves through. We got the jet stream coming down, so that will probably help to steer it out to sea. But 96L Tropical Storm Henri is certainly possible here, or Subtropical Storm Henri is also a possibility. European, so again, they have it Monday night. They have it near Bermuda. So this is Monday night at 8 p.m. and this is Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So you can see there's literally no movement. So, I mean, if that's the case and it could stay in this good environment for a little bit longer, then it could develop. Now, they have it getting a little bit closer to the United States, maybe off the coast of the Carolinas. Not too close. Not enough to produce any rain. But then it will get kind of like yanked out to sea. It'll get like pulled by the upper level low that's moving to the east. So thank you guys for watching today's video. Of course, be sure to check out the video on the redeveloped Fred if you have not already. Thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.